Can you really build a successful startup with just your lunch money? I have coached over 50 startups and built 2 myself, one of them with just $100. In this video, I will show you how you can build your startup with just $100, where to spend your money, and how you can still outperform the competition. But first, before we dive in, let me show you why most founders overspend and waste their money, and how you can avoid this. Now, here is one of the biggest mistakes startup founders make. They get a cool idea, believe it's the next $1 million startup, and start planning right away. They start sketching logos, thinking about branding, team members, funding rounds. A couple of weeks later, they are knee-deep in a 15,000 product build, a branding agency proposal, and they haven't even spoken to one potential customer. That escalated quickly. But why do so many founders make this mistake? It's because they try to build the perfect product. So they think spending big automatically means success. But that's a trap, and this could kill your startup. Because if you try to build the perfect product, you risk building something no one needs. So it's always better to build a focused one and actually get paying users, and not try to do everything. And I have seen this over and over again. Founders waste months building cool dashboards, AI integrations, 5-step onboarding flows, only to realize that no one actually needs those features. So building the perfect product is not the way to go, especially if you want to do it with $100. So what's the smarter way? Here is the $100 startup blueprint. So here is the game plan. And let me tell you a quick story to make it easier to understand. A friend of mine, solo founder, launched an app that just shows people the best hiking spots in their area. And that's it. No social features, no logins, no fancy AI integrations. Super niche. The only thing he added was a premium version where people can pay for additional insider information and special spots. And he built the first version himself using no-code tools. Total cost $0. And now comes the crazy part. This app brings him $70,000 in revenue per year. 70,000. Even now, this still impresses me. Now, I built a startup also with just $100. So let me show you how you can do the same. And we start with a super important step, the right strategy. So to build a successful startup with just $100, you don't need a complex business plan or a 10-year roadmap. You need to focus. You need to solve one real problem for one specific group of people. And I mean very specific. For example, if we stay with our hiking app, you wouldn't say outdoorsy people or anyone who likes nature. You would say hiking lovers who hate crowded trails and just want fresh, quiet places to explore. So that's the main strategy. One clear target audience, one clear problem to solve. Now let's build your $100 startup. Wait, before we dive back in, I have got something for you that can literally save your startup. It's my startup survival guide, and it's completely for free. You will learn the top mistakes that kill most startups and how you can avoid them. Plus, you will get actionable resources, powerful frameworks, and pro tips you can use right now in your startup. 90% of startups fail. Don't be one of them. Check out the first link in the description below and get your startup survival guide right now. Let's get back to the video. Before anything else, you need a problem to solve. So look around. What frustrates people or what annoys you? It could be something in your everyday life, something you experience at work, or even a frustration you notice in your hobbies. One of the best places to find these problems is by watching what people are talking about in online communities, forums, or social media. So every time somebody says, "Man, I wish there was an easier way to do this," or "Why doesn't this exist yet?" this could be a chance for you. But here is the important part. Not all problems are worth solving. A problem might sound interesting, but if it doesn't affect enough people or doesn't solve a big enough pain point, it's not a good foundation for your business. And once you have found a problem you could solve, take a step back and evaluate it. Ask yourself, is this something a large enough group of people care about? And can I make their lives easier? So finding a problem worth solving is the first step to getting your startup off the ground. And the best part, it costs $0. The next step is to understand your target audience and if those people really have this problem. In the first startup I joined, we never talked to potential customers. So we just built something that nobody wanted. Guess what happened? Our startup failed. So don't make the same mistake. Go to your potential customers and talk about the problem they experience. Like how they currently deal with it, if they want it solved, why they did not solve it already, and how they would define success. And you don't have to do this in person. You can even do it on Reddit, Facebook groups, Discord servers, wherever your target audience hangs out. And here comes the important part. Don't sell. Just listen and observe. At this point, you shouldn't have a solution in mind. That's only the next step. For now, you just listen and write down what worries people about this problem. The best part, still $0. So now that you know the problem you want to solve and the target audience, it's now time to brainstorm possible solutions. And there is no need to overcomplicate it here. Just sit down and think about possible solutions, or just ask ChatGPT to give you some ideas. And then, once you have a great idea how you can solve this problem, you need to validate it. You want to know if it would be valuable to people and, most importantly, if they are willing to pay for it. I made a special video on how you can validate your idea with just 9 simple questions. You can find it here. But remember this, it's absolutely critical because it's basically your free insurance against building something that nobody wants. And again, you can simply do it online with Google Forms or one-on-one video calls. And after interviewing 5 to 10 people, you have a pretty good idea if your solution is valuable and if people would pay for it, or if you need to pivot your idea. Again, $0. The next step is the MVP, the minimum viable product. The MVP is the simplest version of your product that still solves the core problem and delivers enough value that people would still pay for it. So this is the part where most people would question that it's possible to build a startup with just $100, because development is usually expensive. But I've got a pro tip for you to make it possible. Use no-code tools. No-code tools are online tools that help you build apps or other software without having to write a single line of code. And the great thing is, these tools often have a free version, where you can set up one project without paying a cent. And only once you publish it, or if you want to get more users, you have to pay. The big advantage for you is that you don't have any time pressure in the beginning, because you can freely experiment and build your software without paying for a monthly license. Now, when you build your MVP, the important thing is to focus only on the core features. Don't make it perfect. Don't cover every possible use case. Remember, you only need to solve this one specific problem. That's the important part. Price tag. Let's say a $30 in case the no-code tool do cost something and they don't have a free version. And now you bring everything to life. You build your website so people can find you. And just like the no-code tools I showed you earlier, there are a ton of website builders out there to make your life easier. And again, most of them have a free plan where you can host up to 2 pages, which is enough in the beginning. And once you have your website, you make it real. You launch your startup, the legal stuff. Now, depending on what kind of business you set up, costs will differ. But from my experience, costs range from $50 to $70. So total cost of setting up the business, including the website, around $70. Remember, the goal is to make it work, not to make it perfect. That was one of my biggest lessons early on. Okay, we have found a problem worth solving, defined our target audience, validated our idea, built an MVP and the website, and launched our startup. We made it! We built a startup with just $100. But we are not done yet. The next step is to get customers, because without customers, our startup will fail. So how do you get customers with less than $100? Check out this video where I will show you how you can get your first customers without spending a dime. But before you go, make sure you hit subscribe for more pro tips and powerful frameworks on how to build a successful startup. Talk soon, bye bye.